welcome to another edition of Talk About here on Shaw TV North Island. Thank you for tuning in. I think we've got another good show for you. The guest is Amber Zernhelt, Sustainability Manager for the City of Campbell River, and the occasion is a big change in the recycling. Amber, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Is it a big change or is it a minor change with some back stuff that's pretty controversial?
I think it's a pretty big change because we're going to see the types of items that we can put into our blue bin expanding next week. And we'll see a number of new items that we'll be able to recycle, as well as the depots in our community taking more items. So it's quite exciting.
Yeah. Now the city did a pretty good video on this, and we're going to have a look at that right now.
Campbell River, you've probably heard the news. Our Blue Box recycling program is expanding. Starting on May 19th, we'll now be able to add more items to our Blue Box containers. There won't be any changes to the pickup schedule or the contractor. Multi-Material BC will be working with the City of Campbell River and many other communities across the province to help recycle printed paper and packaging products. So what does it mean for you? Well, it's great news.
We can now include more items in our Blue Box than ever before. Things like milk cartons and gable top containers. Just rinse them out and put them in. Aerosol cans, even the caps. Spiral wound containers. These usually have concentrated juice or cookie dough. Just rinse them off and make sure you put them in the box. Plastic clamshell containers. These usually have berries or muffins in them. Be sure to take the paper liner out if there is one. Hot and cold drink cups. Just rinse them out. We'll even take the lids. And finally, plant pots and seedling trays. Just make sure your plant pot's not larger than 25 liters or it'll get left on the curb.
A quick note about what can't go in your Blue Box. Glass. Glass creates a big hazard for collectors, and if it breaks, it can also contaminate a lot of the other recycled products that go in our blue bin. So make sure no glass goes in there.
For more information about what can now go in our Blue Box, visit the recycling page at campbellriver.ca. Have a great day.
Okay, we're back. That's a pretty good video, Amber. Did you have a role in producing it?
It's a partnership between the city and the Comox Strathcona Waste Management to produce these videos. We're working on sharing as much information as we can with the community about the changes coming to the Blue Box program this following week.
Well, actually, as we're taping, it'll be next week. So when they're watching, well, mind you, they might watch on the weekend too. But anyway, this has been in the works for quite a while. There's been a lot of controversy. I've got some headlines here. There's some people that aren't pleased with it. There's some people that thinks it's a tax grab. What's the background? Where did this come from? Why are we doing it?
Sure. So what's happening is on May 19th, the provincial government is requiring that the producers of printed paper and packaging take responsibility for those items and make sure that they're recycled. And as a result, we're going to see more items being able to be recycled than ever before in British Columbia. At the local level, what this means is that taxpayers are actually going to save money on their recycling user fees. We'll see a $14 decrease in our recycling user fees this year because the program's starting partway through the year.
That's per household?
Per household, yeah.
Okay. I hope it's not per city.
No, per household. Thanks. And we'll be able to put new items such as milk cartons and aerosol containers, non-hazardous aerosol containers, coffee cup containers, hot cold drink beverage containers, and even plastic plant pots into our recycling. So we'll see quite a few new items that'll go into the recycling. And Multi-Material BC is a nonprofit organization that's been set up by the province to help manage been set up by industry to work with the province to manage these new regulations.
Why were the newspapers, and I say plural advisedly, I think maybe all over the province complaining about this? Are they going to get dinged?
Well, I can't speak for the newspapers directly, but how the program works is that if you're a producer of a form of printed paper or packaging, then you are required to have a stewardship plan in place for the recycling of that material. Multi-Material BC was set up by a large coalition of industry that joined together and said, okay, if we combine forces, we can have a better, more robust recycling program that's more cost effective. So industry can choose to opt into that program or to come up with their own stewardship plan.
Yeah.
If if they opt into the Multi-Material BC program, any business that generates more than, I believe it's $1 million in revenue a year, has to pay a fee to Multi-Material BC based on the weight and type of product that they're generating. So there has been some concern around some businesses about the stewardship plan and the potential impact it'll have on their businesses. They can choose to join MMBC or to come up with their own stewardship plan. But the one thing that is interesting about the program is it's very similar to a number of other recycling stewardship programs we've seen in the province. So for example, recycling of paint, recycling of tires, small electronics, bottles, beverage containers, batteries. Those are all programs that over time, as part of extended producer responsibility, have been transferred over to the producers of those goods to make sure that the items can be recycled. So this is another extension of that program, and it, of course, will provide a lot of benefits for recycling and what we can recycle in the province.
I wonder if this was a factor in the Mirror shutting down the Daily. Actually, it was Black Press, but they had this associated little daily newspaper that came out, I guess, 5 days a week. And they canceled that just, I think, at December. And they knew this was coming. Did they let on to you or to anybody you know that that was a factor?
No, I haven't heard anything about that, so I'm not sure how the new regulations play into effect for that change for them.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I noticed in the video about glass, and I can understand that it would be a hazard for the people doing the sorting. But what do we do with glass now?
Well, we're really excited because as of May 19th, you'll be able to take any glass containers to a number of depots in our community. So one of them that's well known is the Island Return It Center, which is on Willow Street. And they take small electronics and they take beverage containers, and now they'll take all glass ethers. They'll also be taking polystyrene, so styrofoam, and soft plastics. As well, if you're making a trip out to the Comox Strathcona Waste Management Center at our Campbell River landfill site, then you'll be able to recycle glass there as well as other products. They'll have recycling bins. And later on this summer, we'll see the Suncoast Eco Depot on Maple Street opening for recycling of these good materials as well.
Okay, so the first one is, that's the location in Campbellton?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you can also do it. The addition of styrofoam, that's a bit of a breakthrough, I think.
Yeah, it's a huge change. We're really excited about that. We've been hearing from the community for quite some time that they want to see styrofoam recycled, and we were doing some research on various options. And now, because it's something that's happening across the province, there will be the economy of scale to make styrofoam recycling a possibility.
So how are they going to recycle it?
Well, generally speaking, styrofoam is typically melted down and then either repurposed into new items or used as a kind of an oil substance that's derived from it. I'm not sure what exactly will be happening with the styrofoam that we're recycling locally, but it will be sent to Green by Nature, which is an industry coalition that's set up to manage the recyclable goods for the province. And I'm sure we'll have more details on exactly what's happening with it soon. But it will be reused, and recycled, which is great.
There's a big thing in Vancouver right now where the city has too much garbage. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So instead of trucking it up to Clinton and landfilling it, they're now burning a lot of it. And of course they capture the energy from it. But is the styrofoam possibly, is any of Campbell River's waste going to be just flared?
No, our waste won't be flared. We have a regional solid waste management plan, and under that plan, we're looking at diversion. We have 2 regional landfills, one here in Campbell River on Argonaut Road, and then one in the Comox Valley, just outside of Cumberland. So our garbage will go to those landfills, and then the recyclable goods have to be recycled under this new provincial regulation.
Your title, sustainability, we could probably talk for half an hour about what that means too. But you have some responsibility for the landfill, I think.
Well, not for the landfill directly, but the regional district oversees the landfill, and my role is to oversee our curbside collection program. So our garbage, recycling, yard waste programs, as well as our yard waste drop-off center. So I work with our contractor, Mterra Environmental, to make sure that those programs are running well, and then work with the regional district to look at any local issues around our landfill. We're expanding our landfill right now. The regional district is doing that expansion. So the city is working with the regional district.
Well, actually, that's kind of where I was going. I was under the impression that the landfill out near the lake there is filling up.
It is. We have about 5 years left on the lifespan of that landfill. So right now, having a program come into place for recycling enhancement is really timely, because the more we can divert from the landfill, the longer we can extend the lifespan of the landfill, as well as keeping important products out of our environment.
How can the landfill be expanded?
Well, the landfill, they're building a wall right now. That will allow the landfill to be built up higher, and within the existing footprint of the landfill, they're basically utilizing the space to the best capacity that they can. What they're doing right now in the Comox Valley is they're expanding the landfill to an engineered landfill. So under new Ministry of Environment regulations, we have to regionally make sure that our landfills are engineered and that there's proper leachate protection in place, proper membranes to prevent any environmental contamination. So that's the first step for the Comox Valley landfill, and much of our garbage will be eventually transferred down to that landfill. So the more, again, that we can keep out of the waste stream, the more money we'll save on tipping fees, and the better for our environment.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned money, because that's kind of one of the places I wanted to go. What's the financial impact of all this on the city?
In terms of the Multi-Material BC program, we're going to see savings of $14 per household this year on recycling fees.
Which, in the big picture?
In the big picture, that is roughly half of our recycling costs for the year, and that the program is actually prorated based on the fact that we're starting 6 months through the year. So next year we'll see potentially even more savings when we have the full incentive coming from Multi-Material
and the
BC.
ballpark figure is $1 million?
In terms of the funding we're receiving from Multi-Material BC?
How much is the difference is this going to make to the city budget?
Well, approximately we'll be receiving just under $400,000 a year from Multi-Material BC. And again, this year the program is it's only starting partway through the year, so we'll receive less this year. At the same time, we do have some increases in the cost of our contract, because our contractor now no longer is able to sell the recyclable materials, and so our contract costs are going up a little bit. But overall, we're definitely going to see savings in the city, which is great.
What does the glass change have in terms of the financial effect?
Well, where it would affect us financially is if we can keep that material out of the waste stream, we'll pay less tipping fees at the landfill, which means that our overall cost for disposing of garbage will be less. And the more we can keep out of the landfill and the lower our tipping fees, the less we have to pay in user fees, and the cheaper it is per household. I'm
getting an impression, and please confirm this, but we got to keep the glass out of the blue boxes starting Monday the 19th, is that? That's right. We don't want to see glass in the blue boxes, but we definitely encourage people to take glass to the local depots. Yeah. And just to clarify, Strathcona Gardens and the Sportsplex both have depots for dropping off cardboard, aluminum, and plastics. They unfortunately won't be taking glass at those depots, but you will be able to take it, like I said, to the Island Return It Center or to the Campbell River Waste Management Center. Well, that's kind of downloading costs onto consumers and householders, because now everybody's going to have to take a trip once or twice a month to get rid of all the glass they collect. Well, we didn't have glass recycling in our curbside program before, so it shouldn't be any new additional expense. But what I'd encourage people to do is to collect their glass, have a bin in your garage, and make one big trip. Maybe when you take your deposit bottles back, and hopefully that'll help to save on the expense. Should they break the glass first?
No, it's better not to be broken,
Okay.
just safer for handling at the facilities. And then the facilities, it usually ends up getting crushed, but it's better to take them as whole jars and containers.
Well, I take our own blue box out from time to time where I live, but I confess I made a mental error there about glass. I thought it was being recycled, so mea culpa. The effect on businesses, the financial effect, we kind of talked about that. Can you go over that a bit more?
Well, that's an area that MMBC can speak to better than I can. But in general, how the program works is that if you're a producer of printed paper or packaging,
I'm thinking of small businesses.
yeah, so if you're a producer of printed paper or packaging, but you have under $1 million a year in revenue, there's a small business exemption that's been introduced for the program. And so there's details on the Multi-Material BC website that small businesses can look at. And also there's exemptions based on tonnages of material that you produce.
Yeah.
So smaller businesses will have quite a minimal impact or maybe even no impact from the program. But the more volume you produce in terms of material, the larger the cost will be for your business.
Does the city's website dealing with this issue have a link to the MMBC website?
We do have a link to the MMBC website, and people can also check it out online at www.mmbc.com.
Okay. Macmillan Blodell, no, that's a different issue. Now, one of the things I saw, and like I've done a bit of research on this, but Mary Polak, the minister, said that they're going to be monitoring MMBC, and they're also trying to reduce stress on people. How do you feel about the monitoring and the stress?
Well, in terms of monitoring MMBC, I think that's important. The province has said that industry is required to have an effective recycling program in place for these items, for all the printed paper and packaging. And so making sure that the checks and balances are in place and following up with MMBC will be an important part of that. They're taking over a large responsibility for our province, which is also expanding. Many new communities, regional districts, First Nations are all able to take part in the recycling program now. So it's a big change, a big undertaking, and having follow-up will be really important. In terms of stress for people, I think there may be a bit of confusion about what they can or can't recycle. Here in Campbell River, the only change we'll see is that more products can go in our blue bin. And the collection schedule will stay the same, so you'll still have your recycling collected on the same day each week, and it'll be the same contractor. We hope that minimizes stress.
Yeah. When I take the newspapers, which I go through in voluminous volumes, to the recycling, I'm often distressed because people are putting non-newsprint into the newspaper thing, and the cardboard has got non-cardboard. There is a proportion of recyclers in Campbell River who don't get it. How bad of a problem is that, or is it pretty small?
It's, in general, it's fairly small. However, one of the issues that we have to deal with Multi-Material BC is making sure that our blue boxes aren't contaminated with any more than 3% of the wrong material. So over time, we could actually receive fines if we are putting the wrong things in the blue box. So people may see that they have a sticker on their blue box from time to time that says that there's a particular item in it that can't be recycled, and we're working really closely with MTerra so that we can educate the community about what can and can't go into the blue box.
And so if somebody has a problem with this stuff, just phone Amber.
They can give me a call at City Hall, or call MTerra Environmental, our contractor, directly.
Yeah. Well, I expect that after a while, it won't be a story anymore. But maybe it'll be a good news story a year from now saying, yeah.
We're hoping so. When we went to a single can of garbage a couple of years ago and we enhanced our recycling to weekly service, we actually saw a 20% increase in the amount of material that we were diverting from the landfill, which is fantastic. Yeah. So we're hoping that this program will result in an increase in our diversion as well.
Does the landfill keep pretty good stats?
They do, yeah. They keep track of all of the garbage and recyclable material and yard waste that goes into the facility. And at the city, we track everything that is collected at the curbside as well.
Wow. And you get to go over that data.
I do, and it's pretty interesting. The average household in Campbell River generates over 700 pounds of garbage a year. And if you think about that,
That's not much, really.
well, it is and it isn't. But when you have 10,000 households, it starts to add up. And when you think about the number of garbage cans, if each household is having 1 can a week collected, 52 cans a year of garbage, it does add up. So we're definitely doing well. We've reduced the amount we're putting in the garbage, but we can do better.
How is it that we get service on a statutory holiday like Monday?
We want to make sure that there are minimal disruptions in service. So really the only days that you don't receive your garbage picked up are on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. And then the garbage will be picked up the following day.
Okay. Changing horses slightly here. Your letterhead refers to you as an MSc, MCIP, and an RPP. And I know from going on before air that you told me what those are. But your MSA from Edinburgh?
I studied at the University of Edinburgh. I did a Master's of Science through the Geosciences program with a focus on community planning and community engagement. And I'm a registered professional planner with the Canadian Institute for Planners.
Yeah. And you've been here for 5 years?
It'll be 5 years this fall that I've been with the City of Campbell River, and it's been quite exciting. There are a lot of innovative initiatives happening to reduce our environmental impact and to enhance our community and really to build a resilient, livable community. So it's quite exciting.
Yeah. This is a good segue to, how does Campbell River compare with other communities? And before you answer that, the head of MMBC, Alan Langdon, who is a guy I knew long ago, he came to town. And, I don't know, what is there, 100 cities the size of Campbell River in BC, or roughly? And yet he came here. Is Campbell River special at all?
Well, I certainly think that our community has been quite active in promoting our sustainability priorities. A couple of years ago, when we developed our Sustainable Official Community Plan, we really heard from the community that social, cultural, economic, and environmental priorities are important. And there are a lot of programs in place both through the city, through nonprofit organizations, with the Chamber of Commerce, that help to work towards these targets. And I think having the opportunity to have someone like Alan come here and speak directly to our council is great. And part of the opportunity for having him come to Campbell River is because we're quite actively involved in promoting our recycling initiatives and looking at how we can divert waste.
Now, in provincial politics right now, there's I'll call it green jobs issue. And this is, in a way, a good example of that, is it not? Instead of just filling up the landfill, we're creating employment and reducing our costs. Is that fair?
You bet, yeah, you bet. So having the recycling program expand does create new job opportunities for people to work in the recycling business, to work in processing and repurposing of materials. So I think that we'll see some really neat spin-offs from that. What the economic impact will be of the program is yet to tell. It's just starting, and we'll see what it brings for the province.
Now, CBC TV did a in-depth report on this a few days ago, and they mentioned about things you can add in milk cartons you've got there, but I think they mentioned Tetra Paks.
Tetra Paks can be recycled in the blue box, yep, you bet.
But if you take them back to the grocery store, you get a deposit refund for them.
That's right. So it's up to the resident where they want to recycle them. This just gives them more options.
But MMBC, if they get Tetra Paks in the blue box, do they take them off somewhere and sell them for 5 cents each?
I'm not sure what they'll do with the Tetra Paks, but they will be recycled, and so the consumer at that point wouldn't receive the deposit refund for them.
But MMBC could get...
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the same right now. If you put, for example, pop cans or plastic containers that are refundable into your blue box, then generally the collector does receive that refund that you would have otherwise received.
So they sort them out and then take them to a recycling depot?
That's right. So all of our recycling will actually go down to Cumberland. Mterra, who does our curbside collection, is also part of Green by Nature, which is part of the provincial organization that's responsible for processing the recyclable material. So it will go to Cumberland, it'll be sorted, and then sent to various facilities throughout the province.
5 minutes left, and we could talk for 28 minutes about other sustainability issues too, but I wanted to get this in. One of our volunteers, Lance Clausen, just gave me a suggestion a few minutes ago about one way to make the collection system more efficient is what he called a 2x2. And that's where you take your blue box out. Instead of putting it in the middle of your property, you put it on the edge, and if the neighbor beside him or her puts it on their edge, and we could reduce the number of stops, maybe not by 50%, but the collection process could be more efficient if people matched their takeouts.
That's definitely an option, yeah. If neighbors are willing to put their cans side by side, then yeah, it's one less stop, and that reduces our overall emissions. Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, now this is Amber's second time here, and the first time actually wasn't that long ago. We were doing Earth Day and the Energy Challenge, and I think did you select a winner from the Energy Challenge?
Yeah, so the Energy Challenge, we had 5 families participating in the challenge, and we had a great success with the families. And we actually this year, so that the challenge ended last year, and this year we launched the video at our Earth Week Film Festival, and we had great feedback there.
Which was the winning family?
We had the Murphys.
Was that the one with the bicycle and the kid doing?
No, that was the Lobes, and they did really well also. But they actually received a City Stewardship Award last fall. Huh. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Now, coming up, we've got Bike to Work Week, May 26th to June 1. Is that sustainability?
Bike to Work Week is a great opportunity for people to get out, get some exercise, and also to take their vehicle off the road. So we definitely encourage people to participate. It's a lot of fun. There's great celebration stations around the community with lots of good food, pancake breakfasts. It's a great opportunity to get out.
I get the feeling that you can easily spend 8 hours a day at this.
There's lots of great things that are happening in our community, that's for sure.
Paper shredding on May 31st at Strathcona Gardens. I think that's a private sector thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's being put on by, I believe, the Island Return It Centre and a few other partners.
Okay. And Scrap Metal Challenge June 1st, that's the same, also a private sector.
Yeah, so it's great to see these initiatives happening. They all help.
Yeah. And I think I've got time to get the bees in. I personally am very concerned about the mass deaths of bees. I'm more worried about bee deaths than I am about global warming. And yet City Council on Tuesday, as we're recording, decided not to create a special thing for bees. And I agree there's a proliferation of this stuff. But how do you feel about the bees issue?
Well, there's definitely an issue that we're seeing, globally with a reduction in the number of pollinators that are there. And pollinators are so important not only for our food crops, but for the environment and all other species that depend on the pollination cycle. So personally, I've this year put out a mason bee house, and hopefully that will help to encourage a few of our pollinators to come into our backyard garden. And there are workshops at the Compost Education Center as well.
Neonicotinoids. Can you say that quickly?
Neonicotinoids?
Yeah, it's a neo meaning new, and then nicotine. There's chemicals that are killing bees. Anyway, here in Campbell River, we're making progress on sustainability and recycling, and we thank you very much for coming in and helping us understand it some more. So best wishes.
Thanks very much for having me in.
Yeah. Okay, and we'll probably be hearing more about this in due course. So thank you, volunteers, for doing this. Thank you, Shaw TV North Island, for doing this as well. And thank you for watching. Tune in to Talk About. We're seen quite regularly on air, and we're also on YouTube too.